Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Business Masters, a podcast where we speak about different questions on the various business and finance topics. And today, our guest is Courtney. Hi, nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, for those who do not know you and would like to know more about your journey and experience, could you please tell a couple of words about yourself and your experience and what you're doing?
Absolutely. I founded Gotham over 20 years ago in New York City, and we have since expanded into offices in Miami. We had offices in London and working with clients in 30 countries around the world. So it's really grown into a global consultancy. And over that span of time, technology obviously has kept a pace. I think the coming year is really a game changer from where we're sitting as marketing experts and as business builders. Building at scale, I feel as though we can go 10x right out of the gate. So I'm looking at it from a very optimistic perspective.
Yeah, I really agree with you that this year is completely game changer because both what is going on the technological part and the changes in the unit economies and different rates and the different situations as well. And today we'll have a quite interesting conversation in terms of the trends and business trends in terms of AI and how these modern trends affect actually the real businesses. Because in some cases, according to the statistics, we have more than 300 million businesses all over the world, and only 3 to 5% right now actually start using some kind of AI or using it already. But in most cases, people just understand that the AI is the next big thing, but they do not know where to start or how to utilize that. And my question here, have you dealt with, and you obviously have dealt with quite a lot of businesses online and offline, right? And what are, from your point of view, their biggest concern when they are thinking in terms of implementing these biggest trends or biggest opportunities like AIs or marketing automations, or etc.?
Excellent question. I'll give you a case study because that's the best one that I've experienced to date with a client that does manufacturing in New York City, which in and of itself is a unique proposition, domestic manufacturing, particularly on a scope in the luxury category in New York City, started developing their own LLM and partnered with an expert firm to do so because they realized that their archival work, in other words, their build production for the biggest brands around the world would necessarily become fair game, universally accessible imagery through AI. So they realized that they had an opportunity and a threat at the same time, and to protect their proprietary work and knowledge, and also to ramp up their teams exponentially as the year turns over so that they could expand not only nationally, but globally. They're harnessing AI to help them do that. And so that's a really great sort of capsule example of a firm that's just under 200 people that will have the work power, firepower, whatever expression you want to use, of a
Yeah.
team that's much larger.
Yeah, I understand. Because basically, from my experience and what we deal with, and I'm dealing with as an investor and meeting different businesses and owners, people think that at some point there are different challenges with implementing it. For example, first, they really do not know where to start. So, how to gather this information, how to understand that implementation of these systems will actually give them the real economic benefit, give them real return on their investments. Because everyone is talking about the automations like marketing LLMs, but at some point when you start doing them or try to teach them at some point based on your information, you deal with quite a lot of like compliance issues, understanding that the result is not what you've expected. And some people just give up and think that, hey, this part of this technology is not ready yet. So we need to just think and wait for quite a lot of time to implement it eventually. And my question here is more about like maybe expectations of these business owners and companies, because at some point, some people think that, yes, it has some challenges of implementation, but at the same time, it can be some kind of the silver bullet where you can plug and play this thing and you receive a real benefit in terms of bigger lead amount or maybe decreasing in costs. Do you think it's the case? And do you agree with it?
Yeah, I think you bring up excellent points. I don't know how much you follow sporting events, but AI is being implemented exponentially in those arenas. I'll use one example at the US Open for tennis was hosted by IBM, and that's a company that I started my career with many years ago. And we found these same hesitancies around the internet, right? So even it's reflected in their advertising. If you've seen any of their propositions where they say, okay, we have the AI, it's designed, it's in the office, it's in the workplace, yet the team isn't embracing it. It still comes down to humans. AI can design something for your company or your organization to optimize, accelerate, amplify, go to the proverbial next level. But unless human beings embrace it and implement it, this is, I think, that what we're seeing operationally as a challenge. Again, it goes back to that opportunity threat kind of thinking. But the smarter companies and individuals, I mean, yourself included, are already using so much AI in research. I know we are. We're using it to forecast, to future proof. I think it's a matter of upskilling yourself to understand how to harness it, right? To your best ability and benefit. So that's incumbent, I think, across populations around the world to really avail themselves of this opportunity. The downside would be you're looking at data centers, you're looking at what we call vampire load, right? In the
Yeah.
development world of this heavy sustenance that AI is driving and generating. So we will necessarily have to anticipate how that impacts not only the work environment, the climate and the built environment, just geo-globally.
Yeah, got it. Absolutely agree. But at the same time, you still need the human on one of side of the equation because basically we're always joking that although the AI is like quite advanced yet already, and it is still not at the level where it can perform autonomously unless you just strict it with a specific rules. So you still need the fact checker in the face of this special expert with a huge amount of experience who can tell that this is right or this is wrong. And my
Exactly.
question to you is connected to the AI adoption because you said that you worked with quite a lot of companies and the biggest ones. What do you think in terms of the adoption? How you think can AI be adopted in a proper way? You mentioned the data centers using of this part of the infrastructure. Maybe any other ideas of how it can be done properly? Maybe some instructions or maybe additional processes, anything else?
Yeah, I think the arena I sit in, which is the best design talent in the world, is this aspect of discernment, right?
Yeah.
This idea of taste and this ability, as you say, to fact check and to reason. And I think, again, we're coming back to this human centric yearning, I think, for people to meet in person and to talk as we are today. And yes, the technology is there as a tool, but fundamentally, it's humans that will continue to drive these changes and solutions, right, to some of the biggest challenges that we face. Again, it's a question of training, right, and upskilling and mitigating the fear. I think that unfortunately, fear is sold to us much more than positivity is, and that's problematic in and of itself. And we're seeing how that manifests in the political environments and media environments, and that really impacts us from where we're sitting. And of course, every day we want to get up and do our best work. So I think just focusing on that human element and that element of discernment, we can't lose sight of that. It's really paramount at this moment in time.
Got it. Got it. And I also wanted to ask you the question at some point, maybe you've been asked this before and it's obvious. Do you think that AI is inevitable and it actually replace some parts of the jobs? Because what we are looking and seeing maybe, and you also seen this in the marketing part or lead gen part, these
Yes.
systems are quite advanced right now. And some of them can actually do the work faster. And some little task can be performed better than the specific human. What do you think about that?
No, I agree. And it also distills the element of bias, right? So if you are giving, say, someone junior level tasks for research or creating lists or generating whatever data sets that might be needed, that can easily be performed in a way that used to rely on books and papers and catalogs and deep sort of matrices that even now seem quaint looking at it. But yeah, those tasks, again, if you talk to expert marketers, and as I do all the time, I met with one on Friday, who said, if there's a set of tasks that you don't want to do, assign it to AI and it will be done perfectly. And you can focus on the bigger, more important aspects of your job, project, or assignment. So it's really learning how to harness that as a benefit rather than as a detractor.
Yeah, got it. And in terms of AI implementation and working with AI, as you mentioned, that you can actually focus on your main like strategic ideas and tasks, right? What do you think are the like biggest bottlenecks in implementing this type of systems? Because we all understand that it's still raw, and we are still in the beginning of this like huge wave of transformation,
Yeah.
right? But do you see any obvious pain points which are like quite heavy right now, and they really affect the performance of the like any type of organization and any size of it?
Again, I think there's so many platforms, so it's a question of choice and upskilling. So it's probably the rate of adoption. In other words, as you alluded to at the top of this conversation, people saying, oh, it's 2 years out, I'm not going to bother learning. We know what that gets you, right? Very behind very quickly. Really trying to stay apprised of all the developments and tools, particularly, again, speaking as an expert marketer, I would be remiss in not saying every day I'm doing research and even conferences and experiences and activations that I attend, such as I did last week in Miami at Design Miami. They actually had a sensory AI, I guess you'd call them tools or experiences built into the furniture. It was incredible for wellness and calming and
Yeah.
environmental impact. And we're already seeing it. Yes, you can look at it as, oh, this is the future, or you can look at it as this is right now. This is happening. So it's only going to, your point, increase with every passing month.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. In terms of adoption, I see, and this is actually while speaking with the business owners and investors and other hedge fund managers. So we see that in some cases, you need to transfer the business at some point based not only like to adopt the AI to the business, but basically adopt the business to the AI. And what I mean
Correct.
by that is no matter what is the size of your team or the business is 10 or 10,000, you need to create some kind of the structure of the business where you have the simple structure where you have the input of all information and it is gathered from the other places. It can be like direct messages from social media to the email campaigns to the ads and tickets in the CRM systems. So you need to gather that and basically create this kind of virtual brain where you can connect all the LLMs. It doesn't matter where it's ChatGPT or Claude, etc. They can appear almost every day. But the information which you need to input is the core thing here. And not many businesses are ready to do that because basically they have some information here and there, and it's not structured. At some point, it's not even proofreaded and checked that this information can be used. And at the same time, these businesses, what we see, can actually need to create some kind of the output system. So basically train these employees and management to act based on the information which is being provided by LLMs based on the other inputs. Not every employees and management structure are ready for that right now, but I know that quite a lot of businesses are on this track to transforming their businesses to the like AI organizations. So basically purely working with AI. But we see this as a great trend and actually the really interesting thing which is going on in the in our world. Yeah. I
To your
also
point, though, you have to create an internal infrastructure for communication and an outgoing, right? So again, it involves that level of expert discernment, strategy. It can become an echo chamber very quickly. And we're already seeing these cases where AI is talking to young people and not so good things are happening. And yeah, I think we have to have some oversight and regulation. Yes, it can be utopian and it can save us a lot of work and optimize our business. But I think that human factor where we train them to see the future and what the opportunity is, and then to harness or leverage that. But this idea of just a network of machines talking to each other, which is already happening effectively, I think is the dystopian version that gets people upset. But yeah, we're seeing it in financial environments, we're seeing it in media environments, we're seeing it in marketing environments. But then again, you're probably familiar with this term echo chamber, right? Where it's
yeah.
just the same talking to each other and nothing really moves forward. So I think that's a bottleneck for sure.
Yeah, totally agree with that. But basically, I think that there will be more and more industries where the AI will penetrate. What you've
Yeah.
described is basically these are spheres which are the most digitized, I would say, because the finance is the first sphere where you have the numbers, you have all the data, which is already structured at some point. We have the like international like balance sheets or income statements. This is already the structured information. And this
Yeah.
gives some kind of the advantage of learning AI based on that. And my question is more in terms of the like positive pros and cons about the like implementation and working with AI. What do you think are the main like advantages or disadvantages in this type of work with AI?
Yeah, I think you can get, to use a slang expression, a deep cut, right? You can go
Yeah,
really quickly into deep research and analysis, I think, in a way that I find thrilling because I've always been a researcher, right? And being able to glean that information so quickly is so beneficial to the work I'm doing. And again, I think you're an expert in this arena too. This sort of idea of a traditional website goes away because AI is scraping the internet for current data. Unless new systems are built, as you say, around AI, they become effectively useless, other than from a branding standpoint, right? It's always going to be important to have a presence. But I think this is what I mean when I say game changer, is it really changes the whole aggregation, right, of how everything operates and interacts, which of course is exciting, but it's also a little scary because it's unprecedented, right?
yeah, definitely. And in terms of the like negative parts, maybe you have any other ideas what can be like a negative thing, and
The
maybe
arena
the
I'm
person.
working in, yeah, I work with so many visionaries that I think that we've all worked with so many constraints for so long that it's, again, thrilling to have a tool that is limitless, right? That's always been the dream, is to be limitless.
Yeah,
So we're here. And so it's really incumbent on us to embrace that as opposed to the contrary. So I think pretty much everyone I'm working with sees the endless possibilities. And that's not to say we won't course correct and see, let's see what happens in the market, for example, because it's so propped up by all this investment in AI. We maybe are already seeing a little bit of correction around that, but that happens around revolutionary technologies and has over the past 30, 40, 50-year cycles. Again, that's not unusual.
yeah, yeah. I also wanted to add here that from my experience and from what we see, like dealing with the businesses, I think the main, not I would call it like disadvantage, but basically the thing which you need to keep in mind is the fact checking, because we see this as a real issue. Because as you mentioned, for example, with the situations with the kids or like teenagers, because I actually saw the situations where you look at the baby and the baby she's sitting with a chat GPT and asking the questions. And
Well,
when we have the experience and knowledge, we can actually distinguish the real truth from the unproven
yeah,
facts. But
yeah,
basically, the child or the teenager cannot do that, and this is a really a great problem. And I think that in the future there can be some kind of the maybe changing in the policies because it's already
yeah,
changing in the
yes,
ChatGPT 5.2 version, or maybe
yeah.
some kind of the courses where people can be taught how to actually distinguish this information, because you cannot
Mhm.
always trust the like the facts which are now created by the ChatGPT, because usually it can create some kind of the like fake truth, I would say, because
Yes.
yeah,
Totally agree. And truthfully, again, in my daily research, when using AI, I find at least a 30 to 40% error rate because I know what the facts are related to, for example, my own
yes,
clients or a
yes,
business that I'm looking at. And so sometimes the holes or the gaps are pretty astonishing, right? They always talk about human error, but there's definitely machine error in this instance. So it is far from perfect and far from 100% reliable, right? And then,
yeah,
as you say, the more people adapt and use it, the mind becomes, because we're so acclimated to social media and our brains are wired to have that fast response, we assume it's the truth. Letting go of the ability to do primary research, which is something we're taught in school, is a really important, be able to see both sides, if not all sides. So it's sort
yeah.
of thinking four-dimensionally. And again, most people don't have the time, patience, or inclination to pursue that. But there are those of us that this is what we do for a living. So yes, that will continue to be the case and increasingly. But with the oversight with younger people, and also so many manipulated images. It's really becoming an issue very quickly if it isn't already obviously clear how it's manifesting in
Yeah,
the global
yeah.
environment.
But anyway, there are the other side of that. So basically, there are a lot of like startups which create some kind of the fact check and or proof check of these
Yeah.
like images or information. There are also like some startups on blockchain where you can actually. We are now in this age where you can look at the video or the picture and still think, is it real? Because right now the AI is so advanced that you cannot actually distinguish that. And some startups actually do that. So basically, they create a system on the blockchain that proves that you is you and you are the real person. And I think that this is the next step where like all the social media, like, and all the biggest company moving as well. So just providing the information, and it is also in the banking system as well, that you is the real person, not AI, not like generated image or with the generated document, etc.
Yeah,
My
we're
question,
seeing that more. We're seeing that more across social channels, which is important, right? To
yes.
verify, trust but verify, as we always say. So it is important. And I noticed that even with the legacy firms such as Meta, et cetera, that their filters and their, again, level of discernment is becoming much more focused, which I think is good.
Yeah, definitely. And if you go, for example, on X, you can actually pay for this, like some kind of the
Yeah.
badge where it shows that you are the real human. And this is one of the points of on this journey. And
Differentiator. Yeah. Signifier. Mhm.
yeah. So basically, it can be also done in the LinkedIn already. It is in
Yes.
Instagram as well. It's not so common, but the companies are moving towards that.
Yeah.
And uh,
Yeah, I think,
yeah,
again, we'll continue to have this conversation probably for the coming 3 years at the very least. Each year
I
we
think
can visit each other at this time of year and see how much more advanced it is. I was thinking of that because you and I were, I think, scheduled to talk maybe a month or so ago, and then we rescheduled. And even in that month period, so much has evolved in the AI
yeah,
arena. So it's
definitely,
moving
definitely.
really fast. And I just wanted to make that note because I had prepared all these topics that I wanted to talk about. And I thought, okay, now they've advanced that much more just in 30 days, 30 plus days. It's
Yeah,
remarkable.
actually, this is the advantage and what disadvantage at the same time, because basically the information about AI is now so commoditized because
Yeah.
the information which was relevant like 1 month ago, right now is outdated already. And we actually have
Yes.
this separate team and couple of people who actually monitor the updates in the AI world because like every day there are like tens of hundreds new tools which are on the market. And on the one hand, it's like the huge advantage where you can choose between anything. But on the other hand, if you are, for example, the big company with 1,000 plus or 10,000 employees, and if, for example, I'm a CEO and thinking, should I implement this tool in my structure? I would be hesitant because basically maybe tomorrow it will change. Maybe tomorrow this tool stop existing, but I need the proven work which I can
Yeah.
just scale up on the huge like departments and my company.
Yeah. As with any technology, it will come in waves. It's just the nature of innovation. And so, yes, it's something that the pace, I think, is unprecedented. And that's what I think is challenging for companies to try to understand. But it's here. And so we must.
Yeah, but so we just do what we can and do our best in terms of implementing that. And my question to you in terms of maybe any pieces of advice or recommendations to businesses or business owners or like entrepreneurs who would like to, and they understand that, hey, I need to implement and start implementing
Yeah.
AI in my business. What would you suggest to those people who are thinking in terms of that? Maybe the way to start, what to read, maybe what to look at, or any other things?
A good entryway into this whole arena is a company called Section. You probably know it. Scott Galloway has started, launched, exited, and done everything in between in the business arena. He's also a professor at New York University. Some people may know him from his Pivot, also a podcast series. Section AI is really great at bringing top thought leaders in the AI space into understanding what the return on investment looks like, how you start, how you, as you say, scale. using the technologies, what are the threats, what are the benefits, what are the best companies to partner with given the shape and scope of your own enterprise. So I think that's a really great entry point for pretty much anyone at every level, because as I said, because he teaches, he talks to everyone from the top CXOs in the world to graduate students. So in your arena, in tech and finance. So I think I would highly recommend getting involved with anything having to do with that. And I think the initial courses are even free, and then you can subscribe your whole company if you want, or your team to train.
Yeah, I also wanted to add that.
And they're not a client of mine. I'm
Yeah,
not endorsing them
definitely.
objectively.
Yeah, I also know that,
Not a paid
for example,
endorsement.
Google creates free courses for like entrepreneurs and business
Yes.
owners about the AI. There are some courses probably are available on LinkedIn Learning as well, and like edX,
Yes.
Udemy, etc. But they're kind of entry. But if you are just stepping into this field and would like to learn about the general outlook, I think that can be enough. But if you would like to go further, I definitely agree that go into the like section AI or other types of professional resources about the specific industries which these resources cover. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT and, as you say, Google have, I think Gemini is really an excellent tool, quite frankly. And ChatGPT, even though it's a subscription model, it was designed to lose money. I'm sure you've been following that story by OpenAI, that
yeah,
the rate of adoption is so fast that they can't, to your point, keep a pace with
it's not
any
only
of it.
about these two LLMs. Actually, like
No.
Perplexity or DeepSeek and
Yes, that's
like
a good
TikTok's
example.
LLM,
Yeah.
they both pay users like free trial period, discount codes, etc., just
Yeah.
to get their attention and sign them up or get them back
Yeah.
to the
Perplexity is targeting communications and marketing professionals such as myself. And full disclosure, I did sign up with them. So I'm always trying different modalities to see the ones that are the user friendliest. And so far, I actually really like Gemini. I found that one too. But again, to our earlier discussion, I have found about a 30% error rate. For the most part, it's accurate, but
Got it.
yeah, it's not perfect.
Yeah, it's not perfect right now, but it's still like a trend because basically 2 or 3 years ago, there was nothing in terms of that. And the error rate was like 90% at some point where there were like first versions of that. But now it's 30 to 40%. It's like a huge improvement since then.
Yeah.
And maybe any final words from your side, maybe ideas to our listeners and watchers?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to keep an open mind, keep upskilling. Every week, try to align yourself with 2 or 3 opportunities to learn more about this technology. That's what we do on our team. I've always embraced that. And that's why I can have informed discussions like this with experts like you.
Thank you so much. It was really great to have this conversation with you. I will put all the links about the resources you mentioned and your contact information in the description. So if anyone is interested, go there and check them out. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment sections below. And thank you so much for being with us, and see you soon, guys.
Thank you.